Hey guys, this is Courtney from Lil's Bloom, and today I'm here to talk to you about the Cancer full moon that's happening on December 26th at 4 degrees and 58 seconds of Cancer, so almost 5 degrees of Cancer. So I really like this full moon, and it's interesting because I don't necessarily feel like it has all of the super emotional components that we normally see with a full moon in Cancer. And one of the reasons for that is because we have this moon making a beautiful sextile to Jupiter, which is in the sign of Taurus. Jupiter is currently retrograde. However, that's not as significant because these outer planets like Jupiter, they retrograde so slowly that and for so long that it's not a super obvious thing in our life. So Jupiter is really grounded in this practical sign of Taurus. It's very logical as a planet, and it's receiving or it's bestowing its gifts onto this full moon. On top of that, this full moon is also making a trine to Saturn, because right now Jupiter and Saturn are in this beautiful sextile, a little conversation. So the moon is kind of talking to both of them and getting its wisdom and guidance from these planets. And I like Jupiter and Saturn together because these are basically the planets that create the structure of our society. Jupiter has the vision and Saturn does the work and has a structure to actually implement this dream. And so I feel like a lot of us with this full moon might come to some kind of decision or have some kind of clarity, or at least feel our emotions pulled in a particular direction in our life that has the potential to build something significant for us or change something significant for us. So it's going to depend on how it aspects your birth chart, how significant that is, where it lands. If it's touching any personal planets, that is going to obviously mean something more for you. But in general, I think many of us can have kind of emotional awakenings or understanding of why we're pulled in a certain direction, or if we intuitively feel pulled in a certain direction, what can we do in the physical material world to actualize that and to bring that to reality, even if we don't know all of the ins and outs and the details of how that's going to look in the future. And one of the reasons I say that is because even though we have this beautiful sextile with Jupiter, which usually gives us that inherent clarity, at this time Mercury is retrograde. It's in Sagittarius, a sign it doesn't feel comfortable in, Jupiter's sign actually. And it's conjunct Mars. So there is a little bit of there's a little bit of maybe like agitation or anxiety that I think is kind of an undercurrent through this full moon. Maybe that means that we're not totally certain about our decision making because Mercury is also squaring Neptune. So even though we might feel intuitively called into a certain direction and Jupiter and Saturn are telling us to commit to something, decide something, I still feel like there's a little bit of a blindness. Like there's some details that are not fully filled in. There's a little bit of that lack of clarity that does require a leap of faith. Anytime, Mercury squares Saturn, there is some element of a leap of faith involved. And so I think that many of us are going to be called onto some kind of expansion of a path that we feel, again, very naturally or intuitively or emotionally guided towards. And for many of us, that might involve studying something new or traveling somewhere new or committing to working on a project or committing to further developing a relationship with somebody. There's some level here where we're wanting to go deeper. We're wanting to become more disciplined and more responsible, but we're also moving towards a higher vision or something that feels meaningful for us. So it's not like we're just kind of whipping ourselves. Like we are excited about this. We are guided by both logic and emotion. And I feel like it's a really good time for us right now to have some sense of truth come in as well. If you've been very, very foggy about kind of the direction you want to head in your life with a specific, facet of your life, I feel like this is going to give us some clarity and some truth about our own instinctual nature. Like, why do I feel called to this? Or what has been kind of fogging up my brain? What has been making me so confused? This is a full moon where I feel like we are still a little bit confused, but we can kind of sort through it and get to the higher meaning, the higher purpose, the overall mission, where we're headed. And then again, we might not have full details about every tiny little step along the way yet, but that's okay. Or we might have to make a decision and have to confront that kind of uncertainty of, am I doing the right thing? I don't know. And that's okay too. So I do feel like whatever we end up deciding, even though there is that uncertainty, and our rational, logical mind is not necessarily like totally reliable right now, because it's trining the North Node in Aries, Mercury, I still feel like we're being guided towards a very divine purpose. I feel like even though it's an emotional decision, very likely, there is some truth and logic behind it that maybe we're not going to be fully aware of until after. Like, I feel like things are going to unfold and reveal themselves, and more clarity and truth will arise as a result of already deciding to move down a certain avenue or kind of emotionally commit to a certain decision. But in general, with Mercury and Mars together, there does sometimes, like, it can kind of like rev up our energy. This is aspecting my birth chart. And last night I was up till like 3 a.m. and I was journaling and I was all excited. And I was like, it's kind of like this manic feeling when you have Mercury and Mars together, especially in a fire sign, which is already very energized. And then that square to Neptune, it's like, it's daydreaming. It's kind of like lost in its own thoughts. So we might experience some of that, and travel or having very important conversations. Things can get lost in translation, or little hiccups can happen as a result of an energy like this. It's kind of like there's a lot of energy stirring things up, but it doesn't always have, I feel kind of contradicting messages, because I feel like the overarching evolution of this full moon is that we are given a particular direction in which to move, but there's still some energy where things could be shaken up or not totally clear in other areas of our life that are not necessarily connected to these kind of bigger themes of where we're wanting to make some life moves. And that could mean especially around relationship stuff, when we're like, because Mercury has a lot to deal with our ability to connect with others. So there might still be some things that you need to clear up with people in your life or make decisions on that you don't have all the answers for yet. And again, that's okay. But I feel like this is a time of planning, because again, with this access, with these positive aspects to Jupiter and to Saturn, I feel like we are given these very long-term or substantial goals or things that we are having our sights set on. And with this Two of Pentacles, I think that we're really being encouraged to create a practical plan for ourselves, especially because this moon trines Saturn. So what kind of schedule do you need to achieve these goals? Or what kind of financial decisions do you need to make to invest in these goals? Or what people do you need to plan to talk to in order to make those connections? So something here where it's like, let's actually think about the structure or the requirements of what it would take to get to where we're trying to go. And that's going to be different for everybody, because everybody's goal is different. And I also see the Six of Wands, which to me is saying that whatever this is that we're pursuing now has the potential to definitely increase our visibility or increase our happiness and success and notoriety. If we're working on something that can kind of influence our reputation or career, that's one of the most obvious examples of the Six of Wands at play. However, this can also come out in other ways where we feel like we're really appreciated. So if this is more so about relationships or, your like hobbies or things, you might find that you really enjoy what you're doing more, or you're feeling like you're getting not just satisfaction, but also approval from other people, or kind of like a nod or a yes. So there's something here where it's like, okay, everyone is acknowledging that your intuition to move in this direction is right, and you're going to be validated in some kind of capacity as a result of making these decisions. And I think it's super significant because Jupiter and sextile and Saturn don't sextile that often. So the fact that this is happening at this full moon to me is an indication that whatever kind of step or realization or truth that we're coming into at this point in time, it is something very it has a potential to be very solid for our future and fundamental or important for our future. And that's, again, going to vary depending on how it aspects your chart. Because if this doesn't aspect your chart, it's probably not going to hit the same way. But if this is in some capacity, if you have anything, around 4 degrees of Cancer or any of the cardinal signs like Aries, Capricorn, or Libra, you're going to be affected the strongest by this. And so if you have something around, 4 to 10, 0 to 10 degrees of those signs, you'll find that the expansion that you're moving towards right now is, again, very fundamental to something that is going to be some type of success for you. And I think the kind of anxiety and the uncertainty that we're feeling around this now is, with the Nine of Swords in reverse, going to be diminished over time as we start to see the results of the action that we're taking, as long as we follow through. I pulled this card that says productivity. So this is the advice card, which makes, again, a lot of sense with Saturn. And it says, your hard work, planning, and experience should be paying off now, and there's reason to keep going with what you're currently working on. Additional resources can be safely used, and there's indication of promotion, windfall, or increase of some sort, which is a very Six of Wands experience. There are good energies surrounding health and also fitness levels, although challenges will include failure to keep these at their optimum through neglect. So it's important right now that we take advantage of this period of time and create the structures and the consistency in place for whatever we're committing to, and to not neglect those things, and especially not neglect our own well-being, because, full moon in Cancer, it is a little bit more of a focus on our body and the natural cycles that we go through and the fluctuations of our mood and our energy. And obviously, if you're a woman, your hormonal cycles. So we're supposed to be keyed into that, and we're a little bit more in touch right now. And I think that we're getting the benefits of that, but we don't want to neglect that if we take on too much and don't realize when we need to rest. So anyway, this is, I guess I do want to mention one more thing. A side note from this moon is we also have Venus in Scorpio, which is trining Neptune, sextiling Pluto. So I definitely feel like, in terms of our intuition, all that's being heightened because we have Moon in Cancer, Venus in Scorpio, these feminine intuitive planets in water signs that are very self-aware. I think this will help us kind of work through anything that might crop up that might make us feel a little bit anxious with this kind of afflicted Mercury. Our mind can get the better of us, but this Venus energy helps us to kind of take things down a notch and talk things out, or become a little bit more self-aware, more psychologically aware, and process things with this beautiful trine to Neptune. Provide some healing, provide some soothing, self-awareness, some truth that can be the remedy that we need to move forward. So I'm going to jump into all of the rising and sun signs, which I will link down below. But before I do, I wanted to mention a few things. First of all, I finally have my 2024 Notion template out for sale. So if you guys are interested in a full rundown of all the important events that's coming up in 2024, day by day transits with their energy signature. So basically you can see if it's a challenging day, if it's a good day for romance, if it's a good day for creativity, or if you're going to have a harder time. And you can kind of plan your life accordingly. Really important trips, for example, you're not going to plan during those hard days, or launches or important decisions. So if you're wanting something like this, it's only $11, and I will link that down below as well. And if you want a personalized forecast for 2024, you can always catch one with me at willsboom.com or in the links down below. And the last thing I wanted to say is that I am still conducting interviews of healers. I need 10 more people. So I need 10 people who are willing to give me 30 minutes to an hour of their time. And we can also kind of talk about your chart and your 2024. If you decide to give me some of your time, I will repay that. So I'm basically wanting to interview people around mind body healing and using astrology for that. So if you are already in a healing field, so if you're a therapist or a massage therapist or a coach or whatever you do that helps heal people either through the mind or body, and you're interested in using astrology for your clients, I would like to ask you some questions for a future program that I'm developing in exchange for the 2024 forecast. So if you're interested in that, please email me, contact@willowsbloom.com, and type in the subject healer interview, and I will get back to you with a link for you to book a session with me. And I can't wait to see you there. I really hope that I can fill these 10 slots because I'm trying to get 50 interviews done to collect the most data and really understand who I'm trying to serve. So I really, really appreciate anybody that does decide to give me your time, and I hope that you have a beautiful day. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.